Hello, everybody, and welcome back to TJ's Talk Show. I know I've been on a little bit of a break. Last week, we ran into some dicey weather up here in Portland, and I, just never got around to it. But we're going to start back all over again, and we're going to start doing this on a daily thing. So, once again, I'm TJ Perneda. Thank you guys for listening in today. And we got more basketball talk more than anything today. So, we'll go into some detail in the NBA, both college and pro. We'll start with the NCAA. We had a crosstown rivalry here in Portland last night. Portland State Vikings left their downtown campus to go out to the Bluff in North Portland against the Portland Pilots. And we had a pretty tough game here. The final score was 77-75 in favor of the Vikings. Vikings, are a good team. They're 6-4 on the season. Now 6-4 after the win. Portland drops to 7-4, 4-2 at home. So we had a pretty good game, it looks like. So for Portland State, they had all 5 starters going double digits, which you can never have too much scoring, especially out of your starting 5. That's the reason why they're there. And they play some heavy minutes. So the lowest amount of minutes by the Vikings starting 5 is by Gangler. He played 26 minutes and he came out with 11 points. Paced the way for Portland State was Deshaun Parsons. He led the way for the Vikings with 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Leading the way in the boards category was Kanda. Let's see if I can get his first name real quick. Bryce Kanda led the way as a guard. I would assume he's more of a tall guard, maybe a combo 2-3 type player. But he led the way with 11 rebounds. Also added 12 points in 38 minutes. And also on the Portland side, let's go over to their side of the box score real quick. A couple of guys played all 40 minutes. So Coach Coach Terry Porter, former Blazer, as the head coach of the Portland Pilots, really relies on a couple of these kids, Taylor being one of them, and Johnson, being another heavily reliable guy and very versatile. Gabe Taylor seems to be the scorer for Portland. He's averaging 14.5 points a game. The forward is, led the way with 22 points. Last night, he went 10 of 13 shooting, so very efficient. Taylor went from the field last night, 1 of 1 from deep. Also playing 40 minutes, like I mentioned, was Jazz Johnson, sophomore out of Portland, averaging 18 points a game. So he's doing a lot of the scoring for him. He went last night, gave him 15 with 4 rebounds and 5 assists. So a lot of production out of those two guys that Coach Porter really relies on. A couple of guys looks like they got into the 30-minute mark. Looks like 2 out of the starting 5 got into 30-minute mark. Looks like only their center Hartwich went 10 minutes and he did not even attempt a shot. Just grabbed a few rebounds, got a couple blocks. I'm assuming he got hurt. There's no way someone just plays 10 minutes when you're in the starting 5. But anyway, coming down to the shooting, Portland won in the shooting department at 51 overall, and Portland State shot 48% from the field. So you really got to wonder what happened. Portland also beat the Vikings in 3-point percentage. The Pilots shot 42.9%, and the Vikings shot 37%. So, one thing that I really noticed was the rebounding total. Total rebounds 37 for Portland State compared to the 26 total rebounds for the Pilots. The Vikings just doubled up on the offensive rebound category. University of Portland, only 7 offensive rebounds. So, there's a few second chance points that are going on over there for Portland. But last night it was the Vikings who crashed the offensive boards. Ferris had 5 offensive rebounds by himself. The Vikings had 14 offensive rebounds, and you're going to convert on quite a few of those would be my guess. So being able to get those second and third possessions, when you're making a swing can obviously make the difference. Portland State went into the half leading 42-33, and then Portland tried to muster back. They ended up winning the second half, scoring 42-35, but just couldn't quite hold Portland State out. And Portland State, in a so-called upset, the Big Sky Conference Portland State Vikings upset the West Coast Conference Portland Pilots 77-75 last night. And let's stay in the West Coast Conference, since there is another team in our region, is the number 7 overall Gonzaga Bulldogs. They're in action tonight in the Kennel out there in Spokane, the McCarthy Center. They'll play the South Dakota Coyotes, or the Coyotes. So that game will get started about 6 p.m. Pacific time, so in about 2 hours here. Or Gonzaga will be in action. They're also trying to match their best start in school history. The last time they went 12-0 to start a season was in 1944. So things are looking up. The Coyotes come in 9-5 on the year. Gonzaga's a 24-point favorite, so you got to expect Gonzaga to really take it to the Coyotes tonight. Just a lot bigger. They handle the ball better. They shoot better. So that's one thing that I really got to take a look into. South Dakota lost to Portland a couple days ago on the 16th, and they just beat Montana State in Montana State on the 18th. Gonzaga, on the other hand, just kind of cruising through everybody. Beat Washington. They beat Akron last week. They beat Tennessee last week. So they're really rolling. I mean, they played Arizona a couple weeks ago, back in early December, and that was their closest game on the recent 5 games, and that was a 69-62 win. Everything else has been by double digits, including a 10-point win over Tennessee over the weekend. So just looking at the quick team stats, Gonzaga outscores the Coyotes. They allow less points than the Coyotes. They shoot a better percentage. 48% from the field are the Zags, and Coyotes shoot 42%. Pretty even in the rebounding category and assists, with a slight advantage to the Bulldogs. Even though it's a small number differential, the blocks per game, 4.3 for the Bulldogs, 3.6 for the Coyotes, but those, that 0.9 or that 0.6, 0.7 can make a huge difference. That's almost a full block a game, that you're sending a shot back and sending your team the other way, hopefully on a fast break. So that's definitely something to look at. Guys to be looking for if you're going to watch the game would be Matt Mooney for the Coyotes. He's their leading scorer with 14 points a game. On the Gonzaga side, it's going to be, I believe it's Nigel Williams-Goss out of Happy Valley, Oregon. He's averaging 14 points a game. He transferred over from Washington, where he averaged 13 and 15 points respectively in his freshman and sophomore season. So he's a guy who can definitely score at will when needed to. So those are pretty much your 2 guys you really need to watch. They're the leading scorers for each team respectively. And Williams-Goss also leads the team in assists per game, which is at 4.8. So there's a game. Nigel Williams-Goss is the man of this Gonzaga Bulldog team. And like I said, they're in action tonight going for their 12th straight win, which will match a school record 12-0 start. First time since 44. And this is a team that I believe after this game, let me check the schedule real quick. I believe after this game, they're going to start going into, conference play. So this is a huge way to go into conference play, and it looks like it is. They'll play versus Pepperdine on the 29th, the Bulldogs will. So that'll be their first game of the West Coast Conference conference play. So, you want to go in, obviously, with the most momentum you can. They got a couple game lead over St. Mary's, but obviously right now nothing in conference. So you got to really stay focused with your non-conference schedule and get as much momentum rolling as you can going into conference play, which starts next week. So once again, the Bulldogs 11-0, 7th in the country, will take on the South Dakota Coyotes tonight in the kennel at the McCarthy Athletic Center or Sports Complex in Spokane. That game will tip in about 2 hours. If you guys want to go ahead, if you have the resources to watch that, it'll be on ESPN 3. So this should be a good game, even though Gonzaga's a 24-point favorite. I mean, you can only really guess. Who knows? Maybe the Coyotes come out shooting and not missing very much. So, they make it a lot closer, and Coach Few really has to work this Bulldogs offense and defense and scratching out a win. But the only time will tell. That game, again, will start in about 2 hours. Let's move up to the bigger conference, to the big boys in the Pac-12. The 20th ranked Oregon Ducks took care of business last night against the Fresno State Bulldogs in Eugene, with a final score being 75-63 in favor of the Ducks after a tough start where they lost 2 out of their first 4. They're really cruising now, are the Ducks, at 11-2 overall, and I would assume they're going to continue to climb that top 25 ranking. Fresno State goes to 8-4 after the loss. And for Fresno State, just looking at the box score, it was just a lack of shooting. It looks like they're a big three-point shooting team. They attempted 22 three-pointers last night, only made 6, so 27% of your three-pointers aren't going to win you too many games, especially against a fast-paced offense like this Oregon Ducks team. And they shot 3 of 15 from deep, so not any better at 20%. But Oregon shot nearly 50% from the field in total, 25 of 52. That's good enough for 48% from the field. Leading the way was Jordan Bell. He scored 23 points last night. The junior forward, leading the team right now with 10 points a game and 8 rebounds. So he's the guy who kind of does a little bit of everything for the Ducks, and he led the way, like I said, 25 and 8 rebounds. Got a couple. Dylan Ennis also scored in double digits. He scored, let's see what it was real quick, 13 points last night. This guy's been all over the map. He's a senior. He looks like he took a red shirt. He transferred from Rice. Started at Rice, then went to Nova, and then now finally finishing up here in Oregon. But he's a guy who stepped up. Last year he only played in, doesn't look very many games. He played in 21 minutes. Doesn't really say games played here on this stat sheet going into previous seasons. But, he only averaged 1 point a game last year. Now he's averaging 10. So Dylan Ennis doing a great job adding to the Ducks with 13 points. Everyone else was in single digits besides Bell and Ennis. So that's encouraging to see that Oregon can just get a bunch of scoring from a bunch of different guys. Everybody who played, it looks like all 9 guys who touched the court last night were able to score, and that's huge, being able to get that type of production out of your bench. So the Ducks continue to roll after their tough start. They beat Fresno State last night, 75-63. Let's get a quick look on when the Ducks are in action next. And it looks like it'll be on the 28th, opening for the Pac-12 Conference. They'll play against number 2 UCLA in Eugene. So that'll be a good game. That'll be the 28th. But once again, for the last night, they took care of business against the Fresno State Bulldogs, 75-63. And let's real quick, the Blazers. I'm not too sure what else to say about them. They lost their third straight. They've lost 7 out of the last 8, and they got swept all 3 games of their road trip that just wrapped up. They lost 126-121 last night, and Boogie Cousins went off for 55 points. CJ McCollum did his best, but 36 points isn't going to do it for you. And the telltale signs, Portland Trailblazers cannot play defense whatsoever, 126 points. The over-under for that game last night was 218 points. They definitely beat that and smoked it out of the water. So until Portland knows how to play defense, I don't think they're going to get too far in the season. They dropped to 13-17 on the year. And I wish I had more time, but unfortunately I do not, and we're just about out of time. I'm TJ Pernanda. Thank you for listening. I will be on tomorrow, and you guys have a great night.